Sorry, I'm a little late for this one, but this third episode of Agent Carter, although it is the second week of the show, the third episode basically is decidedly less comedic than the first two, which kind of surprised me. The first two episodes were just kind of, you were just kind of tuning in to have fun. It was the 40s setting. There was some cheeky fun with Peggy confronting some of the sexism going on at the time, and how she was kicking all kinds of butt. So there was that. There was kind of an element of fun, and while that still is somewhat present here, this was significantly more dramatic and, for lack of a better word, heartfelt than the previous two episodes for a number of reasons. But basically the plot of this one is that while Peggy is zeroing in on the guys who stole Howard Stark's technology, or at least she's zeroing in on the technology itself, she's still no closer to figuring out who Leviathan is, but she finally has some solid leads on the technology and its whereabouts. However, Jarvis gets arrested by the SSR, so inevitably they question him, and they dig up some dirt about him, namely a dishonorable discharge from his war days. So that kind of raises the issue of trust between Peggy and Jarvis. And in addition, Peggy really comes more to terms with the fact that she really needs someone in her life that she is close to, or that she can confide in, whether it's Jarvis or Angie or whatever. So from that standpoint, you can understand why this was less comedic and more dramatic. Now, I like this episode about as much as the first two, maybe a little bit more. While it was a little slow at points, and I'm not saying that because I need action every 5 minutes, I'm saying that in terms of pacing and whatever, and how much I was invested in the characters, at points it was a little slow. However, once again, the acting, I'm really enjoying the performances, specifically Haley Atwell and James Darcy. I hope that's how I'm pronouncing his name, James Darcy, or something like that. I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out for the next episode. Mark my words. So they are still great. They still work very well off of each other, and the fact that they are given more dramatic material to work with here definitely helps. And the supporting actors, like Lindsay Fonseca, she still does a pretty good job. I'm not really sure why she's still credited as a guest star, even though she's been in all of the episodes up to this point. So, I don't know, maybe, again, I don't know why she's still credited as a guest star, but I digress. So she still does a pretty good job. She's still a lot of fun, while at the same time giving a little bit of dimension to what could essentially be a one-off character if put in the wrong hands. So they're still good. And in conjunction, the male characters on the show, specifically the guys over at the SSR, gain a little bit more of an identity this time around. They are starting to come into clarity as to, who they are, what kind of personality that they have. I'm still not nearly as invested in them as I am Jarvis, Howard Stark, and Peggy, but again, they are getting a little bit more of an individual identity rather than, the forgettable cluster of generic jerks that we saw in the first two episodes. However, with that being said, there is a death at the end of this episode, and it is one of the SSR guys. And it's this really sad moment. It feels like a main character has just been killed off from the show. It's very sad, somber. The music is very quiet and like I said, sad. This hits Peggy really hard, and I'm just watching this and thinking, I never even knew the guy's name. And I only recognized who got killed off after they kind of after Peggy reminded me based on his based on his characteristics. He was a brute, he was rude, he was disrespectful, but it hits me hard. And I said, oh well, that guy. It would have been nice if we had actually gotten to know him, or if it had been someone likable, like maybe the crippled guy. But from the standpoint of being sad about this character's death, this particular point in the episode didn't really work. It did not have nearly as much of a dramatic effect that it was intended to have. However, in terms of advancing Peggy's character and really deepening her own sorrows in the sense that she feels that this is somewhat her fault, and how she is trying to lead this double life, and how that can emotionally impact her, it worked very well in terms of Peggy's character. But in terms of actually feeling sorry for the character who got killed off, it fell completely flat. So that was unfortunate. But again, the most interesting points in the episode were the interactions between Peggy and Jarvis. Specifically how Peggy says, if we're going to work together, if we are going to go into battle together, then I need to know that I can trust you. So we actually get a pretty interesting backstory involving Jarvis being, again, dishonorably discharged for forging his commander's signature to get a specific woman some sort of protection. I forget what kind of protection, but basically there was a minor charge of treason, and they kind of bring this up, and the SSR guys say maybe we should go talk to your wife, and really we get a little bit of Jarvis sort of starting to break, that sort of stoic British posh polite exterior sort of fade away when he says, leave my wife out of this. So that was a really good scene. More due to the acting than anything else. But again, what really hurts this show is that the guys over at the SSR, they may have a little bit more of an individual identity at this point, but in terms of actually getting me to care about them as three-dimensional characters or as likable characters, then again, the show really needs to do a better job of actually ascending us past the point of, oh, they're just jerks. And I don't really feel like we've gotten there yet. But again, I'm still interested in the conspiracy. I'm still interested about what's going to happen. I'm still very invested in Peggy and Jarvis and their relationship, and how again this double life that Peggy is leading is having some unforeseen emotional ramifications, which are conveyed beautifully by Atwell. So yeah, this was an episode I enjoyed. Perhaps a little slow at points, and some of the dramatic material falls flat at certain points due to not really developing some of the characters. But for anyone who thinks that Marvel, or at least Marvel Studios and their cinematic universe, is just kind of a one-trick pony in terms of big blockbuster visual effects films, I actually recommend you watch this. You might be surprised in how they can take a normal person without any powers, without any kind of superhuman abilities, and a female character nonetheless, which is something that is constantly shortchanged in these comic book movies, I feel. Then yeah, I think you might be surprised in what Agent Carter has to offer, or at least thus far. That could change in the near future, but hopefully it changes for the better, if anything.